Welcome to the RaceGuru Thunder Hour. As you can tell from the intro, it's a little different this week. I don't even know if what I did there worked. I figured we needed a little bit of music to start the show, and Sean, the man, the myth, the legend, is under the weather and will not be joining us today, and he is kind of my saving grace when it comes to all this technical stuff because I'm an old fuddy-duddy and don't know what the F I'm doing. But you are here with Rich. I'm flying solo Maletto today to cover, excuse me, where we're going to cover last week's Memorial Day weekend races, where we had the Coke 600, the Trucks at Xfinity, and the Indy 500, which we'll talk a little bit about. And then we're going to be leading into the race this weekend at Nashville. I don't have a lot of data history there for Nashville, so we'll talk about that a little bit. But, Sean, hope you feel better. And before we get too far into the show, I do want to remind everybody this is a podcast brought to you by the Elite Plus Network and FantasyGuru.com. Please do us a favor. Head over to FantasyGuru.com, click subscribe, check out all our packages. I believe baseball's still discounted. If not, I apologize, but I believe it is. Early birds pricing is available for football. It is football season. Hat tip to Ray the Oracle Flowers, who's doing all this baseball content and reaching out in Discord answering questions. I don't know how the man does it, honestly. We also have, if you want, like the content you have here with our podcast and our DFS program and betting, the all-in or the MVP package, which gets you 12 months of everything that's not football or baseball for $80, 12 months. And that includes next year when football and basketball start, that gets, Arnie with soccer, Jorge Pucks. By the way, my Twitter was blowing up today with Jorge Pucks breakdowns and stuff. So I don't know what's going on with hockey. I apologize. I thought hockey was just playoff time. I didn't even know there was DFS. Maybe he's got some bets, but he was getting a lot of love there on X. So I wouldn't be missing out. I apologize. I was a little more neck deep digging into the NASCAR stuff for the week this week. But as always, again, if you don't mind, head over to FantasyGuru.com. Check out the different packages. If you don't see one that fits, don't panic because we have a ton. It can be overwhelming. Email us. Email support@fantasyguru.com. Outline your price point, what you need to stay in. If you want monthly, if you want annual, what sports you're into, if you can do DFS or betting or both, or you don't want any, you just want seasonal, let us know. If you're on YouTube watching us, the 10 people that tune in, thank you. We appreciate it. Do us a favor, hit subscribe and like, man. It goes a long way. I know I feel like I'm peddling, begging for support here, but we see you guys, and we appreciate every single one of you. And I want to give a hat tip to the NASCAR Discord. We'll get into that in a little bit, but when we talk among the staff about the Discord channels and some of the challenges, Sean and I are quick to point out how awesome the NASCAR Discord channel is. You guys tuning in and jumping in there, man, we love it. You guys are always sharing good stuff. You're fair. We don't have a bunch of disclaimer here. Not only is this episode solo without Sean and going to be a little truncated this week, I do get a little bit of a potty mouth here and there. So if you've got sensitive ears around, maybe earmuffs or put earbuds in or something. But we don't have a lot of dickheads in the NASCAR chat, like at all. And it is a reprieve to go in there. It is fun. We talk racing. We're supportive of everybody. So if you are watching and listening to this and you haven't subscribed yet, the Discord channel comes a part of it. And that's where all the most updated information is. That's where all the bets get posted, because unlike a lot of other sports, our lines, because of when qualifying is and everything else, there's oftentimes a very small window. In fact, sometimes the lines don't even drop for things like trucks. They qualify in two hours later, they're racing. So if you like this content, let them know. If you can't find what you want, but get in the Discord channel. We love having you there, and it's a good time. And I want to give a hat tip. Like I said, there was a lot of green and people cashing in DFS. The betting seemed to be very good. And hat tip to Sean. Sean sat right here last week and told you 18-1 is off for Ross Chastain. Then Ross, who was fastest in practice on lap averages, on overall speed, he was bad fast. He wrecked during qualifying, lost a tire, ended up going to a backup. The team, since it was in Charlotte, went back to the shop, thrashed around, worked on it till something like 2:30 in the morning to get back there at 5:30 a.m. to load up. The story was all over the place. The team had about 3 hours of sleep. And I don't even know if they got that unless they slept at the shop, which they may have. I don't know. So Sean told you to bet Ross. I didn't. I was on William Byron. I mean, we always give a few, but I was pushing William Byron. I felt like a genius until there was about 15 laps to go, and I was worried that Ross was going to get around him. And sure enough, Willie B stepped on his dick a little bit. I know people want to blame Denny Hamlin, but I didn't see Denny do anything wrong. And Ross made a nice, clean pass and went around him, and that was all she wrote. Ross went on to the win. For a team and drivers that thrashed on a backup car, started in 40th, hat tip. That was an impressive one for Ross. And we'll talk about it here in a few minutes, but this could be a launching point for the upcoming week. You know, Denny Hamlin made the comment on his pod that be careful. When Ross and Trackhouse are hitting it on all cylinders, they're very tough to beat. And I'm not big on picking back-to-back winners, but a little teaser, we may have to consider it. So, but in addition to the Coke 600, we had the Indy 500. So Sean hit you with a winning bet on Ross Chastain. I brought you in second with my bet, unfortunately. We did have a successful day on DFS. There was a lot of green in there. We did suggest building around Byron, Ross, Brad, potentially. Last minute, I mentioned Larson. You know, after he wrecked out at the Indy 500, I had no problems with him starting near the front. He was going to be able to start near the front. I expected him to be fast. He was. He started off the race dominating, leading a bunch of laps, and then I don't know if the tire went down, the toe link broke at that point or what happened, but he lost it all by himself and never really recovered. At that point, Willie B went on to win stage 1. He won stage 2. He won stage 3. And gosh darn it, about won the whole thing until Ross was there. So I felt like Sean and I had you covered, and it was fun to see some overlapping lineups. The top lineup I saw my contest had a lot of guys we highlighted in the article and the cheat sheet. That was my article and cheat sheet this week. Usually that's Sean. I know there was a little bit of confusion in Discord about that. Sean and I sometimes will flip-flop around just to help each other's schedules. We have that much confidence in each other. We're comfortable with it. I don't know that I would do this for everything, but when it comes to NASCAR and Sean Engel, absolutely. And be sure to follow Sean on X at SeanE247. That's SeanE247. Don't follow me on Twitter or X, but follow Sean. So hopefully he'll be back in the Discord this week with some more money bets. That was a great call on Ross, and I was glad to see some people take advantage of it. Like I said, the DFS, it worked out well. This was one of our better weeks, and it was a lot of fun. I felt honed in. I feel like the members really took advantage of that. And man, it was great to see. It really was. Just so you guys know, I did have a decent lineup. A member and I, we tied. We were in the same single entry $4 contest, had the exact same lineup. And this is why I don't share lineups, just for future reference. Wow, excuse me. There's only at most 40 drivers. So if I give you my lineup, either you're going to want to copy it or maybe tweak one or two things. Maybe tweaking those one or two things aren't the right way to go. So I would rather give you idea of what I'm looking to build around and why, and let you kind of determine what makes the most sense. And I try to give lots of options on why this might be a good look, or maybe this is a better fade, or this is contrarian that's really risky, but it'll make your lineup different. I don't want to give the whole lineups because we don't want to overlap all the time. That said, I didn't mind splitting third place with a member. That was pretty cool. It really was. So it was a very nice, profitable day for me in that regard. But I'll be frank, I get a lot more enjoyment seeing y'all's screenshots. When I see you guys collecting, that's a big deal. It's not lost on us at Fantasy Guru that y'all spend your hard-earned money to buy advice, pay for advice. And when that advice doesn't turn profitable for you, I know it's frustrating for you. It breaks my heart. I know Jeff has talked about this. It is a very personal thing. We want you to make money. So after the bit of a rut I had been in for the last few weeks, man, it felt good to see that. And quite frankly, I needed it. I'm a little more jazzed up and ready to go. So hopefully we can carry that momentum into this upcoming week. Overall for the races, Charlotte was Charlotte. It wasn't bad. I mean, this car makes that type of oval better. it wasn't anything overly exciting. There were some cool stories, especially with Ross, Brad contending. I mean, guys came from the back of the pack, so it was fun. You know, we got the whole show in. We didn't have to deal with the rain too much, which was nice. Same thing happened at Indy. The Xfinity was a decent race. William Byron won that, you know, so we were hoping, you know, I was kind of parlaying that, thinking, it might be a double for him. The truck race was enjoyable. I was kind of shocked to see, you know, Raja looking as good as he was, for example. I still maintain trucks. Trucks may be harder for a DFS perspective because, you know, as Kenobi likes to say in the chat, he gets pretty wild for the truck series. But I got to tell you, man, I still think that might be the most entertaining racing to watch. And I don't necessarily want to chase the wrecks, but it can be pretty entertaining to watch. Xfinity definitely puts on a good show. I'd love to see the Cup guys in the Xfinity cars. And now NASCAR's talking about adding horsepower. So I'm not holding my breath, but for the first time in years, 3 years, they're actually entertaining the idea when it's always been no, 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 no. I think they've come to the conclusion that maybe having lap times 4 seconds almost off from, say, 4 years ago doesn't lead to the best racing. So we'll see. We'll see. The Indy 500, I know some people felt like that was kind of a conveyor belt at times. I thought it was a decent show. Granted, I found the storylines more interesting than anything. Scott McLaughlin wrecks in practice, right? Had a fast car, goes to the back of the field, and his teammates get caught cheating. He's not really assumed that. He's warming up on the parade lap and wrecks. And the only guy I can remember, I was at a race when Roberto Guerrero did that, and that may have been 92. There was a lot of overlap at the 92 race. So that may have been 92. I'll have to go back and look, but it definitely was Roberto Guerrero who was the pole sitter that year, whichever year he was the pole sitter, and he wrecked on the parade lap. That was unfortunate to see then. It was unfortunate to see this year with Scott McLaughlin. And then we had Scott Dixon that looked like may have had like a brake fire, had some problems. He had to come in and get that changed. They somehow managed to do that and only went down 3 laps, which was impressive, but that obviously killed our top 5. You know, I gave you 5 top 5s to bet. 2 of them hit, and they were the 2 that were juiced, but I did like them and did say, you know, we can bet them. I really thought Newgarden was going to get there. And unfortunately, Fox didn't really show us Newgarden coming through the field, which is weird. I don't know why they didn't. I mean, everybody talked about, they were all talking about how he could be the first to come from the back to win, you know, comparing him to 92 and Scott Goodyear's run. And then they never really showed us him. They talked a lot about him, and he got up inside the top 10 before having the fuel pressure issues that ended his day. Really would have liked to have seen how that went with Newgarden if he hadn't had that happen. But our guy, Alex Palou, I said, if I had to pick one, backs against the wall, in my opinion, it's his race to lose. Patty O'Ward was a close bet for me, but I was going Palou. I gave you about 4 names. Palou hit. You know, the trifecta we mentioned last week, well, we got 2 of the 3. That's why they're trifectas, right? They're tough. And I did cool on Sato. I don't think I would have gotten you the right 3 drivers, though. I don't think I was high enough on the Aero Prime driver of Mekalos. But once because there were 3 disqualifications at the Indy 500, which is uncommon. I have a lot of history with that race going back to 1987. I don't ever recall hearing anybody get disqualified. I gotta believe maybe it's happened. I will look it up, but I don't recall it. So to have 3 cars disqualified, including second place Marcus Ericsson, that was a big deal. I mean, 2 of the cars were Andretti Global cars. It was second place, 6th place, and 12th place that all got DQs. Well, that made Patty O'Ward a 3rd place driver. As the wife said, though, that wasn't changing any bets. But hey, those 2 out of 3 got him up there. We were close. A couple of guys made comment they were profitable, maybe not as profitable if we'd pushed Paulo some more. But when it comes to racing, man, if we can be profitable, that's a big win. And that's why you got to take the wins, especially the longer odds when you can get them, because we've got to weather the storm. There's so much chaos that happens in racing. I mean, William Byron is a perfect example. If you had that William Byron ticket, for most of that race, you were loving life. And then it kind of got taken from us. But that's where DFS is nice, right? You can mix some of the other things in. So overall, I love Memorial Day weekend. I felt in tune. I think we did a great job. I really impressed with the Ross Chastain call by Sean. Overall, I thought we did a good job, and hat tip everyone. It means a lot seeing the green. I had a successful day. You know, $4 into 250 was a big deal for me. It's no DFS Marlin type of winning, but for me, that was a nice haul. And to see others, even though I don't give a lineup, having a lot of overlap in the lineups, that made me warm and fuzzy. I keep it coming. I care more about you guys winning money because you're spending your hard-earned money to trust us for our advice. I'm not making this up or blowing smoke. My lineups be damned. I mean, I even do hedge lineups sometimes, but my lineups be damned if you guys can win money. Seriously. I get paid to talk about stuff that I love, and you guys trust you to give you good advice. That's what it's all about. So it's been a little bit of a rut for me the last probably 2 to 3 weeks. So it felt good. And I'm a little more rejuvenated to come back at, attack this upcoming week when we head to Nashville. But before we get into Nashville, let's cover a couple of quick news items. The penalty for Chris Buescher did get reduced slightly. So they will not be in as big of a hole as they once were. So that's always cool to see the appeals process work. I mean, anytime you're appealing, and NASCAR's done a decent job of trying to remove the same people that do the penalizing from the NASCAR official standpoint to those who have previous NASCAR official history, previous driver history, etc., doing the appeals and kind of breaking it down. So, man, I am really struggling here. But I wanted to cover a couple of news items. This one was actually big. Both William Byron and Kyle Busch got contract extensions. Now, the reason I say this is big, I'm not shocked about William Byron. In my opinion, I love Kyle Larson. Don't get me wrong, but in my opinion, I think it's like whether it was Jeff Gordon or Jimmy Johnson, you build around kind of that top guy. Kyle Larson, I guess you could argue, is that top guy, but William Byron is the bread and butter. He's the younger of really, I think, of all four of the drivers that they've got there now. He's also been the most consistent lately. He's on that, historic 24 car. I'm not shocked by this. This is an excellent thing and a good deal. The one that I found more interesting, though, was Kyle Busch. So Austin Dillon still has a year. I just saw this today. Still has this year and one more year on his contract. He feels like he still brings something to the race team. He still wants to race. I feel like there's opportunities for some of these young RCR drivers in the lower series, like Jesse Love, maybe Austin Hill. These guys are going to be hammering for some cup opportunities, and they're going to get it. And if RCR doesn't make seats for them, it's going to be interesting. Now, Austin Dillon did make a comment about how he feels like he can build a good team and knows what that takes. But Richard Childress is going nowhere. He's still going strong. So it's a situation to watch because Kyle's now linked. He's got a multi-year deal now. So any talk or any scuttlebutt of him going to Hendrick or any of these other teams, which I never saw him going to Hendrick, I just think that bridge has been – I think Rick Hendrick and Kyle can probably let bygones be bygones, but I think that bridge is kind of nuked. I would recommend if you have Prime, check out Rowdy. There was some very interesting things in there regarding Kyle Busch, his relationship with Ricky Hendrick, and kind of the fallout took place and why he left Hendrick and all of that sort of stuff. Well worth the hour, 20 minutes, in my opinion. I found it very fun, very insightful. But Kyle's locked in now. So Kyle's going to be in the 8. That's not going to change. If we do see a Jesse Love or an Austin Hill move up, and it's going to be with RCR, either they're going to have to add a car, which I don't know that they do without a charter, which I don't know where they get one, or we see these guys go elsewhere, or maybe Austin Dillon after next year does hang it up. I'm not ready to predict that. And Austin made it pretty clear he still feels like he brings something to the team. That said, I think Jesse Love and Austin Hill are a better talent. And at some point, I'm not trying to say it's all nepotism there with Austin Dillon, but it is his grandfather, and the performances haven't really been there, and the speed hasn't been there. And while Kyle Busch isn't dominating, RCR has made leaps and bounds in improving the quality of equipment over the last probably 3 to 4 years, in my opinion. At least the last couple, they've definitely found something more. Kyle's getting there. I think it would help if they got someone a little bit more like Kyle Busch, who's willing to push the car a little bit further in that 3 car and got a different set of notes. And reason Kyle Busch is there is in large part because of Austin Dillon. So I do believe Austin Dillon knows what it takes to build a team. And quite frankly, I'm more excited to see what Austin Dillon does as a car owner. I think at some point that does happen, whether it's 5 years or 10 years or 15 or whatever that is. I'm curious to see it happen. And I think he would be good at it. I think there are better drivers within the RCR stable right now than Austin Dillon. I'm not even sure that Ty Dillon's not a better driver. I mean, we've seen what Ty Dillon's been able to do in really an underfunded team this year. He has shocked us. We've talked about Ty Dillon numerous times on this podcast. So we'll see. That was big news. The L1 penalty wasn't completely rescinded for Buescher, but it was reduced. So that's big news. There's some other little scuttlebutt stuff that we can talk about later, like they're adding Xfinity provisionals for Mexico. I don't think it's worth discussing right now. We can talk about that with Sean as we get closer to the Mexico race. But this week, we're going to Nashville. We're going to Music City in Tennessee. So we can wait on a little bit of that Mexico stuff. But moving on. I don't know if we mentioned this last week that Kurt Busch, Harry Gant, and Ray Hendrick are all elected to the 26th class of the NASCAR Hall of Fame, with Humpy Wheeler getting the landmark award. Personally, I think Humpy Wheeler did more things for NASCAR than Bruton Smith did. And I know I will take flack for that. Bruton built tracks. He was a businessman. I think Humpy did more to boost NASCAR in its ratings and its fandom than Burton did. And it's kind of like when I got in an argument with someone about Ken Squire. Well, he has an award named after him, but he's still not officially in, and he should be. And I would say it's disrespectful. Humpy, you were always great when we saw you at the track. You're deserving of this award and then some, sir. So cheers to you. Now let's get into Nashville. What kind of track is Nashville? Nashville's another, well, it's not necessarily 1.5 miles. It's more like 1.3 miles. Let me see if I can pull up the exact track dimensions for you guys. Nashville is also concrete, which I know Dale Jr. is not a fan of. And that's because you got to cut concrete. Unlike pavement, where they just kind of have seams that meet together, concrete, because of the swelling and the moisture and the heat and cooling, you have to cut concrete or it will crack. It'll be a problem. So there's always cuts in the concrete. Well, as Junior says, that leads over time to getting to a bumpy surface. The thing is, though, I would argue that racing on concrete is more fun to watch. The cars tend to slide a little bit. The track tends to be a little tougher on the rubber. I enjoy the concrete. So and Nashville is what they call a tri-oval. So it's similar to Charlotte. It's 1.333 miles. So it's 1.3 miles. So it's a little bit smaller than what we see at, Kansas and Charlotte and all that sort of stuff. And it is concrete, which is obviously different than Charlotte and most of the other places we go to. The banking is the same in all the turns. It's 14 degrees. Banking on the front stretch is 9 degrees. On the back stretch, it's 6 degrees. It is at 14 degrees. That is a relatively flat track. To give you an idea, Indianapolis is definitely considered a flat track, and that is 9 degrees. So, unlike, Talladega is 20. Come on, buddy. Rocco apparently wants to fill in for Sean today. This is Rocco, and he likes to make his appearance. And, yeah, that's always fun. Anyway, so it will be a little bit flatter. I would still approach this as I would most intermediate tracks. We're going to have a decent amount of laps this weekend. I had it pulled up, and of course, Rocco bumped me. And so now I no longer have. This is what you get with an unedited show, folks. And I apologize because Sean keeps a lot of this clean. And unfortunately, he covers up for me numerous ways, and all my warts show when I'm here solo. And Rocco is not behaving. I don't know what his deal is. He thinks it's always supposed to be Frisbee time. No matter how much Frisbee we could play Frisbee till my arm fell off. Yes, I know. That's all you want to do, and that's all you think about. But Daddy's working, so forget it before I bite your face. Yes, you're making this very difficult, pal. Yeah, are you going to at least say hello? Yeah, so we're at 24 degrees at Charlotte, for example. So there's quite a bit more banking at some place like Charlotte and Kansas. So it is going to be, like I said, you may not see it on TV, but yeah, it's definitely a flatter track. Not Magic Mile or Indy Flat, but it's a flatter track. I still would approach this, like I said, as I can tell you exactly how it is because it's a 400-mile race. I would approach this as any other intermediate track. Yeah, I mean, we're going to do 300 laps. So, that's quite a few laps. That's going to be a little bit less than what we did this weekend, but still a fair amount. So what does that mean? Dominators will matter. Yes, we're still going to want the plate. In fact, this last weekend was a perfect example, okay? Denny Hamlin, who ended up having a fuel problem because they didn't get the car filled with fuel, dropped back and did not have one of the best finishes. But because he came from 20th, worked his way up, he got some bonus points, even though it wasn't the best finish, but he also had a bunch of fastest laps and everything else. So he was still a viable option. William Byron didn't win, but he was the biggest point scorer, even though Ross came from the back because he led so many laps. So, but here again, Brad and Ross were massive plays. I mean, scoring this week for NASCAR was 438 points for our third place lineup, 438.1. There are cashing lineups that don't break 300, right? Especially when you go to a road course or something. So 300 laps, we're going to want some dominators. We're going to have to hit on those, and that's a common theme. And we're going to have to find the gems. We got lucky this week with Brad starting near the back and having excellent driver history. Ross being so fast in practice with excellent driver history starting in the back. We had some low-hanging fruit. SVG started 30th. He was a money play. Even though we probably I don't remember where he finished, 16th, 15th, something like that. He just slowly kept moving up. Don't sleep on SVG as we get through these ovals. He is a very talented, savvy racer. We've seen that on the road courses. Now he's getting some seat time on these ovals. Alex Palou, for example, won his first oval ever at Indy. Obviously, had never won at Indy before, had never won at an oval before. These things will happen. So SVG, just kind of keep him on the radar. When the pricing is right and he qualifies right, he's kind of a perfect punt option. So keep that in mind as you do your lineups and are looking at costs and everything. So, but we're going to have to have it. We're going to have a blend like we normally do. All right. As far as names to watch this week for the truck series, we're going to have William Sawalwich in the number 1. We're going to have Clayton Green in the number 2. Kyle Busch is back in the 07. Honestly, I hope he wins. I hope he wins the trophy, and I hope he doesn't smash it. I know Sam Bass has left us years ago. Sam Bass would hand paint the trophy for the Nashville race. It was a guitar. Kyle was trying to have some fun and break it like a rock star, not realizing that Sam hand painted these. Sam was very hurt by it at the time. Kyle worked it out with him. They ended up raffling off one for a fan. Kyle paid him to do another one, that sort of thing. Kyle tried to make it right, but I would love to see Kyle win a guitar, whether it's the cup race or the truck race, and just proudly, hang it over his head and treat it right. Corey Day, who just signed a contract with, JRM, signed with JRM. Corey Day will be in the number 7 truck for Spire. So Kyle Busch in the 07, Corey Day in the 7. And then Ikanori Ogata will be back in the 63. And then for the Cup Series, we do have a couple of names, but there's only one I'm really excited about. But we do have J.J. Yaley's back in the number 44. Chad Fincombe will be in the 66. And yes, that's right. It's going to be Heim time again. Corey Heim in the 67 again. Sign me up. Sign me up. This dude deserves in a Cup car. It's fun to finally hear all the announcers pushing for it. No offense, Raleigh Herbst, I take Corey Heim 100 out of 100 times, buddy. Sorry. I don't think you were ready. Heim is ready. Get this man behind the wheel of a Cup car. You did once with decent equipment. He finished 13th. First ever Cup race. Come on. Or I guess first Cup race and quit. Second overall Cup race. Because I think he did one other one. Regardless. That's impressive. So we're going to get to see Corey Heim twice this week. Trucks and then on Sunday for the Cup race. Love it. Love it. Love it. Keep him in your mind for DFS. He was a money play last time he was on the track and Cup for DFS. We probably won't get that lucky this time because I'm sure the pricing got sharper. All right. Moving on here. Moving on. All right. Once again, I do want to remind everybody, this is a podcast brought to you by the Elite Plus Network and FantasyGuru.com. Please head over to FantasyGuru.com. Click subscribe. There's so many different packages. You want to pick up on some baseball? Now's the time. You ready for football season? Now is also the time. Get a discount while you can. As I'm going to tell you, if you wait around to August and do an automatic renewal, you're going to pay full price. So if you're going to be renewing in August, email support@fantasyguru.com. Say, hey, I want to take advantage of the early bird pricing. What can you do for me? They'll help you out. I'm very confident in that. Confident we can mix and match and find something for you. As I said, if you like our content on the racing side, $80 gets you 12 months, and that gets you more than just the racing. That gets you golf, soccer, esports, hockey, basketball, everything not football and baseball. I mean, 12 months. I got to tell you, I've priced around. We really are kind of the best bargain. I mean, I challenge anyone to consume everything that's on the site. I don't think you can do it. I tried once. I don't think you can do it. So, Elite Plus and FantasyGuru.com. Check us out. Subscribe. If you're on YouTube, hit like, subscribe. That would be awesome. We really appreciate it. All right. So now let's start talking about drivers. All right. So here's the deal. We don't have hardly any history here at Nashville, okay? There is a total of 4 Cup races that we've run at Nashville, all right? 3 of which have been with the new car. So you could argue we could just toss out the 4th race. And I probably will when we go to break down the stuff in the article. I don't know what Sean's approach is going to be, but I don't think one race and the other car is going to move things much. That said, because something interesting I found. So Kyle Larson is the only driver that had 4 top 10s in 4 races at Nashville. He also has 1 win. That win, though, came in the old car before he went to the new car. Since the new car, he does have 3 top 10s, 2 top 5s, but no wins. So obviously Kyle Larson is on our mind, especially after the letdown. And I got to tell you, the body language and tone, I think homeboy was wore out. He sounded very down and exhausted, and that was before he ever got to Charlotte. So I don't think he was on his A game on Sunday. I'll just tell you that straight up. I do not think he was on his A game. And why I may or may not be on the pod next week is I'm looking forward to watching Kyle Larson run locally here. High Limit Racing is coming up and running it literally my local short track where my brothers-in-law's raced and I've worked on cars and all that sort of stuff. So that would be kind of cool, but man, maybe the guy's racing too much. But anyway, he's still going to be on the radar. You're gonna have to like him, I guess should be my thing. He's the only one though in the new car. No one else has 3 top 10s. Denny Hamlin has 2. Chase Elliott has 2. Ross Chastain has 2 with the win, and both of Ross's top 10s were top 5s. So was Chase Elliott's. Christopher Bell has 2 top 10s, no top 5s. Joey Logano has 2 top 10s, a win, so 1 top 5 out of 2. And Ryan Blaney has 2 top 10s in a top 5. That's it. So it's kind of wide open. William Byron's got 1 top 10. Kyle Busch has 1 top 10. Buescher's got 1 top 5, which was a top 10, obviously. Austin Cindric has a top 10. That might be a name to keep in mind because we've seen him run well at Gateway there in St. Louis, which is also a bit of a flat track. Eric Jones has a top 10. Ryan Preece in only 2 races has a top 5 and a top 10. Don't be sleeping on Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece was another. He just keeps getting it done. And I don't know what Buescher and Brad have to do to get on the same page as Ryan Preece, but right now Ryan Preece is the best car there at RFK, in my opinion. So if we want to talk about some DFS action here, let's look at some of our top price drivers. When we have such limited data like this, it's hard to put much faith in driver history. I'm more likely to put more faith in recent history. So, for example, Ross Chastain jumps out massively. They've been trending the right direction. They were so good, even with him wrecking in qualifying this past weekend. And to look and see in his 3 races in the next-gen car, he has 2 top 5s and a win. Ross has got to be one of our favorite guys to use this week. And considering he's priced, let's see here. He is priced at $10,000. The pricing is is definitely goofy this week because we got 6 drivers, 10,000 or more. But Ross is the bottom of that list. I mean, ahead of Ross from a money standpoint, it's Larson, Byron, Hamlin, Bell, Blaney, Chastain. I tell you what, if you want me to pick one driver out of that group that I like the most this week, it's Ross Chastain. I mean, without seeing qualifying and practice times, I'll tell you right now, I think we should strongly consider building around Ross Chastain. I think he can lead laps. He definitely has some of the better driver history here, at least recent history. He came off a wonderful win last weekend. All things point to look at Ross Chastain. Obviously, Kyle Larson, considering he's got 3 top 10s in 3 races, even though he doesn't have a win, he's consideration. If anything, maybe this is a week to look elsewhere than William Byron. I mean, Joey Logano's got better numbers for the week. So does Ryan Blaney. So does Denny Hamlin. So that's something to consider. If you want me to pick my top 3, though, I mean, Joey Logano's cheap at $9,200. Chris Buescher's at $8,600. I tell you what, give me Ross Chastain. I know Joey burned this past week, but I'm leaning Joey Logano. And I think I'd have to go Kyle Larson would be my 3. I would understand an argument for Hamlin. I really would. Buescher at his price point, worth a look. He does have a top 5 in the last 3 here. So, Tyler Reddick, look, he finally showed speed. And he has 1 top 10. It's a top 5 in the last 3. He finally showed some speed. So while I've been pretty much fading Reddick, and I think I even referenced that in the article that even though the driver history was there, I was away. I was fading him. I wanted to go a different direction. He showed speed before they had problems, and he ended up not being a factor. But the fact that they finally showed some speed to run up front, Tyler Reddick's worth keeping in mind. And his price point, $9,800, it's not bad. It's not bad. Not something I absolutely adore, but it's not bad. From a mid-tier level, man, we were spoiled last week with Brad Keselowski priced at $6,900. I don't know what was going on with that, but that felt like thievery using him in a lineup. This week, Keselowski is $8,300 with Kyle Busch at $8,000. Frankly, I think Kyle Busch at $8,000 is a pretty good little move there. I tell you what, Josh Berry at $7,700 is also an angle I would look at. He doesn't have a lot of history here, but the team has had speed. We didn't see it this past weekend, but the team has had speed. I don't know what to do with Carson Hocevar. He is clearly fast. The problem is he brings a buttload of risk because he's a wild card. And I just watched Rowdy, and it reminded me of Kyle Busch early on in his career. Like, these guys are fast, and and look, I'll be the first to admit, I'd rather have someone that we got to pull the reins back on than kick him in the butt. But someone needs to start pulling back the reins on Mr. Hocevar. Update on Brad, too. Brad doesn't even have a top 10 or a top 5 in the last 3 races here. So this is probably the race he should have been priced at $6,900. At $8,000, no way I'm looking at Brad Keselowski unless he shows us something in practice. I'd much rather look at Ryan Preece at $7,300. I think he would be an excellent call. one top 5 in 2 races here. Give me Ryan Preece at 7,300 as a good move. I still like Kyle Busch at 8,000. It's going to depend on practice because you got Alex Bowman at 7,800, Josh Berry at 7,700, Ty Gibbs at 7,400, Costa Hocevar at 7,500, and Austin Cindric at 7,200. Like I said, Cindric might be a name to keep in mind. At 7,200, he could be a very savvy bet to use for DFS. I expect Hocevar to have some speed. I want to be on Berry, though. There's just one of those gut feelings kind of thing, but I may feel differently come practice. And Ty Gibbs, here's the deal. The speed is finally getting there. I may have been a little too early on the trigger, but he was right there on the cusp of it. I expected a better run at Charlotte than what we got, so I'm kind of pumping the brakes a little bit, but his price point at 7,400 is at least enticing, so we'll have to look at practice. Bubba Wallace is now priced down to 7,000. He's a value. I don't necessarily love him this week. He does have one top 10 in the last 3, but they've just had some bad luck. So if you want to pin me down on 3 of them as we sit today, I'm going to go with Kyle Busch, Ryan Preece, and Austin Cindric. And Cindric is more the value for what I think he's going to bring to the table. And if we want to talk about some values, the cheap guys, right? Corey Himes coming back at 6,700. Now, he's in okay equipment. Like this should be fine. And let me pull up the actual entry list here because I don't want to misspeak because I'm pretty sure he's running for Trackhouse in the number 67. If he is, got to tell you, it's going to be tough. Okay, I'm sorry, not Trackhouse. He is running for 2311. Still decent equipment. Booty Barker will be his crew chief. 6,700 is a little higher price than I want, but you know how I feel. It's always Heim time. AJ Allmendinger, I apologize that I did not have him in the DFS order. I looked. I really did. I looked. I considered it. And it's one of those things when I kept coming back to the name, I should have known when I keep looking at the name that I should probably reconsider it. He was solid. He really did look decent at Charlotte. He's priced down at 6,600. So he's someone that we need to keep our eye on. Stenhouse is priced down at 6,200. A guy that's jumping out to me, though, at his price point is Eric Jones. He ran well this past week. He has one top 10 there at Nashville in the last 3. I mean, the only guys that are cheaper than Eric Jones are really guys that I don't know that I want. I mean, I'll use Ty Dillon at 5,000 for sure. I'd much rather use Ty Dillon at 5,000 than Riley Herbst. SVG at 5,200 definitely deserves some consideration. We need to watch practice there. John Hunter Nemechek showed some good speed this weekend. He's at 5,500. That's one to keep in mind. In fact, really, I tell you what, if you really want to pin me on some punt options this week, John Hunter Nemechek at 5,500, Shane Van Gisbergen at 5,200. And I reserve the right to change my opinion on either Eric Jones at 6,000 or Ty Dillon at 5,000. That's going to be probably qualifying and practice dependent. But I would argue those are some serious values that we can get. I mean, nobody has a lot of notes here. There's just not a lot of race experience. That's why we're seeing, only one guy that's got 4 out of 4 top 10s, 3 out of 3 top 10s in the last 3. Nobody else does. So, an Austin Cindric top 10 and Eric Jones top 10, those things mattered a little bit. They obviously found something that day. So practice will be key. Now, with it being a mile and a third, we'll get a few more laps in for a lap average. So we're not talking significant, but that'll be a little bit of a benefit to us. So I'll be looking forward to that. All right. Now, let's talk some bets here. All right. I am not listing any top 5 bets right now. I like to list them when I feel like a driver's carrying momentum into the week and they're priced wrong. Say a Zane Smith's plus 400 or something for a top 10, plus 250, plus 300. I got a little greedy earlier in this year. That's why I've stepped back on some of the bets and I'm trying to build back into it. I've got to be more comfortable drinking the juice. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to have to be more comfortable suggesting top 5s, top 10s that are minus 140, minus 130, minus 125. Why do I say that? Jeff has given this example numerous times on air. And while it makes a lot of sense when I hear it and I'm all about it, I don't seem to be converting it to the NASCAR stuff I'm suggesting. If I offered you a 60% return on your investment of over 24 hours, how many of you wouldn't do it? Right? So while you bet $100 or you bet $140 to win $100, you're still getting a significant return, okay, at minus 140. For example, if you bet this weekend, if you bet the top five bets I put, and you bet more money on the negative odds and just spread out the plus odds, you were profitable. Paulo was plus odds for the win. And even though it was minus odds for the top five for him and award, it was profitable. It would have covered your losses. And if I was smart and only pushed you in that direction, you really would have been profitable. So I want to look at practice times, and I'm going to start drinking the juice more. That's just the way it is. And if you guys want to parlay them to try to get plus odds, go ahead. I wouldn't recommend it, at least not until we get kind of our feet wet, so to speak, and we're consistently rattling off some of these top fives, top tens where we're getting the negative odds and we're hitting home runs. It doesn't make sense to chase a top 10 at minus 300, for example. Excuse me. But it does make sense to do a minus 150, a minus 140, a minus 125. And if I'm not feeling with those guys, I'm not going to push it, because there may be someone like a Ryan Preece at plus 120 that I just feel more confident about. So I'm going to do a better job, or at least my commitment to you is to do a better job on going with confidence instead of trying to find lines. You know, I've made comments on this show multiple times that in DFS, I've learned quit chasing places, start chasing points. Just because I think Eric Jones is going to finish better than Austin Cindric or whoever it may be, I'm just throwing out names, doesn't mean that's a smarter play for DFS. Mark Hogan has taught me this. And look, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here, but I have placed now in multiple GPPs this year, 3rd, 5th, 8th, and I took a 1st, and I didn't win much. It was a crappy, 100 entry, one single entry, 100-person dollar deal. But I did. And why I've gotten more successful at it, and I'm not losing money, and I'm actually increasing the bankroll little by little now, and I still miss a lot. Like, I'm just being fair. I mean, I do have more wins, but I still miss a lot. But I'm having more wins, which is keeping me afloat, and it's because I've stopped chasing places. I feel confident in those things, which is why I chase them. But from a DFS perspective, we need the points. And Mark has illustrated this with, it's okay if you've got a cheap guy that's in the top 10, if you think he's capable of a top 15 or even top 20 finish, because of the price point, we only need 20 to 30 points. So a 15th place finish, even with the minus 5 or 10 points, is okay. That pays. So we need to be cognizant of that. Well, it's the same thing with the betting. If I'm confident that minus, and when I was confident both Patty O'Ward and Alex Palou getting top 5s. I really had no doubts in my mind about it. Yeah, we only got 50 or 60% return. But it was still a 50, 60% return. That's pretty decent return. I understand if we miss, that's not. But it's a bet is a bet is a bet whether we hit it or not, right? If we miss, we miss. So why not hit while we're drinking the juice a little bit? So that's what I'm going to be focusing on more. So I'm not going to give any top 5s. I'm not going to give you any top 10s. I will say this. I'm betting. I don't even want to give you 4 right now. If you want to put a bet in to win, let's see what his odds are. You want to put a bet in to win, I'm saying go bet Ross Chastain. We're going to ride Sean's coattails from last week. We're going to tee off of what Denny Hamlin said. And I'm suggesting we go after Ross Chastain. So let's see what his odds are for the week. That's always the fun thing about finding NASCAR is it's tough. So just so you know, Kyle Larson is the favorite at plus 450. I do like Kyle Larson, but I wouldn't bet that right now. I do think he's the odds-on favorite. Next would be Hamlin at 550, Christopher Bell at 600, William Byron at 650, Ryan Blaney at 850. I would consider Ryan Blaney at 850. But I tell you what, Ross Chastain at 11-1, go bet it now. By this weekend after qualifying, we're going to see Ross Chastain be closer to 7 or 8-1 is my guess. When he qualifies well and runs well in practice again, because he definitely has some of the best history at this track. They're coming off a great win. They've been increasing in speed. They've had qualifying issues, which has made him a great bet for DFS purposes. Give me Ross Chastain at 11-1. I'm feeling it. And if you want to look elsewhere, I'm kind of got a gut hunch on Blaney at 850. And I do believe Kyle Larson is worthy of the plus 450. I just don't want to chase that bet right now. I just don't. I need to see something from practice. He really, the body language, the tone, the man looks wore out. I need to see if he can bounce back before I start pushing that. But like I said, you guys know I don't like betting back-to-back winners. I'd strongly consider 11-1 on Ross Chastain right now. I really would. I mean, if you want a long shot, Ryan Preece or Carson Hocevar at 35 and 40-1. I could see them. So, other than that, like I said, I will have some bets for you in Discord. You guys spending your money on our advice is a big deal to me. And I don't want to give poor advice. I don't. Like, I'd rather focus all efforts, all money, everything I got to make. I mean, heck, I will make bets that are different than what I suggest to you just because I don't want to jinx y'all. I don't like being all in on people and having everybody go the same route. It makes me uneasy, unless I guess they're following me. I understand Jeff's point. When we all cheer together, there is something to be said about that. When we all cheer for and maybe that's why DFS went so well this week. We were all cheering a lot for the same drivers. And maybe I'm doing it wrong that way. Maybe I need to be more narrow focused, I guess. Tunnel vision, if you will. But, I mean, if I'm going to build a lineup this week, Ross Chastain has to be in it. I think Ryan Preece needs to be in it. And I definitely think we look at the John Hunter Nemecheks and SVG to keep it, low priced on that end. And then swing for the fences with Hamlin and Larson or Blaney, maybe Joey, something like that. And then, like I said, if you want to pin me down, I'm chasing Ross. I think Ross is a good bet. I really do. Well, that's it. I hope it was all right. I know this is not what we normally do. I definitely was missing Sean for multiple things. So, like I said, this would be a little truncated version. But I wanted to bring you with all the same insight and whatnot that I have, that I do every week. I definitely feel like I'm missing a little bit of excitement. Sean must have a way of firing me up somehow. And I love Sean. I don't know how he possibly could do that. I feel like I'm fired up all the time. I mean, if you see me on Twitter, all I am is freaking fired up. So, but as a reminder, please check out fantasyguru.com. Hit the like and subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube. Don't hesitate to reach out to our staff at support@fantasyguru.com. Get a package for you. On behalf of Sean, who's not here, please follow Sean on X at SeanE247. On behalf of Mark Hogan, who usually joins us, and a hat tip to him for making us better players. I am Rich. I'm flying solo Maletto this week. This has been another Race Guru Thunder Hour. Until next time, peace.